Ambassador Praveen Verma. Welcome to VNN, Praveen.
Thank you for calling me once again, Bala, and it's nice to be back. And we had a gap of 1 week in between, where possibly nothing much was happening. So. But then slowly things are recovering from the COVID period, and let's see how things go on, because there have been revised spikes even in Ontario here.
Yeah.
And on the world, of course, it's going on its own. So let's hope for the best and see how soon it ends at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a spike, I think, all over the world, including India. It's been a massive spike in India.
Yeah, but
better.
Yeah, in India, you see, what they say is that all over India, it's sort of nearing the peak, whereas it has its own hotspots, which are really peaky. Delhi has sort of settled down, but Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu and Gujarat and all, they are spiking a bit too much. And another reason which they are saying, along with Trump, is because we are testing more, so the numbers are more. The only bright lining in India is that the rate of recovery is also quite high, around 60 to 70%, whereas in USA it is around 40 to 45%. Canada is 50%. Surprisingly, I was seeing the data today. Brazil's recovery rate is 70%, although their infection rate is also high, but because the recovery rate is so high, they are still managing. So something to do with these hot, humid climates and BCG and all. Because why? India and Brazil are leading in recovery rates. Therefore, I was listening to WHO when they were saying that the world COVID figures have plateaued out. But different countries are behaving differently. In the sense that in certain countries it's still not plateaued, but the major countries. But in other countries, it is sort of very low so that it compensates for the spikes in the major countries. One of which is, of course, the United States of America, which is the biggest numbers nowadays. And I don't know what's their strategy to handle it, because it's like typical Yankee strategy of getting head on, hold the bull by its horns, because everything is open over there. And Trump is also looking forward for opening the schools in September. So
they want the Canada-US border open now. They're pressing for that.
The Canada-US border, I think they have just passed regulations that it will not open till next
year.
So 31st December, we are totally sure that it will not open. After that, we'll see if the things improve on the other side. The things will improve because it will plateau. And of course, the Americans definitely every day say that we are testing much, much more. And therefore, our figures are high. But the number of deaths are also high. So that is something which in a developed country, in a world's major power, it is very surprising and very disappointing in terms of the leadership also and the crisis management also.
Just COVID-19 will also just die away like old SARS and MERS, and they just disappear.
No.
People and went up.
I don't think it will die away. It will be there, but it will be there like other normal flu.
Viruses, yeah.
And India proposes to get it cured by August 15. I don't know how valid it will be, but cures and at least some sort of symptom-reducing medicines have come, like Resdemir and hydrochloroquine, and there are a couple of more medicines which have come in, which at least has lowered down the symptoms and has lowered down the death rates. So that is a good thing. But another major thing which is coming up now, which I sort of heard in the WHO press interview yesterday, that they've received a petition from around 230 scientists about investigation into airborne spread of coronavirus. But that is very deadly, because if that is confirmed, then the social distancing also doesn't work. Yeah, who has not agreed to it. They have taken into consideration the views of these scientists, and they have just responded saying that, okay, we see your tests, but we need for further evidences on that. And they have sort of, and themselves on their own have started investigation. keeping in touch with the what you call the mathematical modelers and the bioengineers and all these stakeholders, the scientists and all, to see what really can be is the situation, because as those scientists say that it flows aerially in an aerosol method. Now that is true even today in closed environments where there is more people. There is a what you call transmission, but that is sort of in terms of droplets. Maybe this could be that a smaller droplets, but then I think 6 feet distance should be more than enough for a micro droplet to transmit or float in the air for somebody to hold it. But if it is sort of confirmed by WHO, that will open another angle of how to restrict further spread of corona.
That will leave to other medical authorities now. What's happening in India on the Indo-China border? When they have withdrawn the Galwan Valley and
India-China border, good news. India-China border, let me tell you, there's very good news over there, in the sense that the Galwan Valley people have withdrawn. Both sides have withdrawn, and they have created a 2-kilometer buffer zone. That is done, actually done, confirmed through satellite pictures.
How is Bangkok go?
The finger 14 and finger 18, those discussions are still going on. But I'm told that the de-escalation has already started, or rather disengagement has already started, and there is a very, very sort of noticeable softening of stand by the Chinese, because today the Chinese ambassador gave an interview and released a YouTube 20 minutes clip in which the Chinese ambassador to New Delhi was talking about the friendly relations between the two countries, and talking that something happened which neither of the two countries wanted to happen.
And they now got Panchashil and the old days. So
yeah,
something again.
Everything. Yes, so he's talking about reconciliation. Basically, if you heard also heard that, he's talking about reconciliation.
What really made this disengagement possible? Is it the military prowess or military sort of stand-up or diplomatic relations, or what kind of talks between political leaders? What solved the problem?
One will have to combine all these things. Our military response, number one. Number two, our diplomatic engagement with them, both with Doval talking to their chief special representative. Both have been talking quite regularly. And thirdly, another major thing would be these, what you call the threat of economic blockade, economic resistance. You see, what has happened?
It's into a world thing, because everybody in India does it, other countries also might follow suit.
Yeah, and another thing which you would have seen that in India, it was not a government-sponsored reaction. It was people who became too outraged and started talking to government, asking why isn't the government doing something about it. And the government stopped the apps and they cancelled 1 or 2 contracts. Not the contracts, MOU, the contract which was cancelled was already about to be cancelled. And then a number of contract terms were amended to ensure that no sort of additional leverage was given to the Chinese companies.
Adani signed an agreement with the Chinese just a few days ago.
Pardon?
The Chinese, Gautam Adani, in Gujarat, in the industry, he has signed a $300 million agreement with the Chinese company.
Yeah, the point is ultimately the government has to react. Private companies do their businesses. Nowadays, the whole problem is that the CEO of a company does not look at the flag; he looks at his shareholders. So, therefore, it has to be the public pressure which comes on the government. Now, this is a very good argument point as a negotiator to say that, see, I'm helpless and I have to save my position. And if I have to save my position, I have to do something. I have to pass orders. So that could be one angle also. So all these 3 or 4 things added up for the Chinese to come to a conclusion. And another thing is maybe that day, the clash which happened was a spur of the moment event. As a matter of fact, India has decided to to replace the army from the front to managed by the Indo-Tibetan border force. So the Indian borders would be now manned by the Indo-Tibetan Border Force. Now, Indo-Tibetan Border Force is a border organization. They are not a military organization which are meant to fight. They are meant to solve administratively. So they are not so trigger happy from both the sides. So once both the sides agree that border patrolling will be done by the border forces, that the trigger flashpoint, the masala becomes less in the flashpoint.
Now, suppose in diplomacy now, suppose is Indian diplomat say, okay, for the Chinese, you take one mountain, but give us 5 years of peace. Is that diplomacy? Take a mountain, give us take a mountain and a valley, and then give us 10 years of peace. Is that diplomacy? Just give away?
Here it's not flat land or some land which is agricultural or something. These are strategic borders, and which the military people will have to be involved. So this mechanism has been there. The two sides have been meeting quite regularly, which has a diplomatic component and the military component and the border road component, and they have been meeting and they have decided that okay, we have got this fuzzy line of actual control, which is not a line, but it is, as you recall, I told you in the first episode, that we don't have a line, it's a fuzzy thing. So that sort of thing is already there. And to mark it as a line would be again, these negotiations will have to be continued. So diplomacy is going on. It's never stopped.
70 years has been going on, not a single checkpost done, nothing is finalized on that border. Why?
Point is,
China doesn't want it, or India doesn't want it.
no, border roads, you see, something happens when you lose track of the situation. These people keep on talking and all that, and it did not. I mean, you and I also not thought about it for the last 30 years. After 1962, the war happened, and by 60, 70, 80, we were too small at that time. But ever since we've grown up, we have not thought about the border. I've known about border talks being going on as far as the ministry is concerned. But as a outsider, one had forgotten about the Indo-Chinese border except when Doklam happened. And Doklam happened also because that there was Bhutan on the other side. So that was an issue. This thing has arisen. Tell you, the problem which started now is because India started building up its infrastructure on its own side. We don't have any territorial ambitions, but I'll come back to it when I talk about the Chinese expansionist visions. So we started building our border roads. So our DBOR, the Daulat Bay Oldie Road, is nearly complete now. Only 30 to 40 kilometers are left off. That airport is one of the highest airports in the world, and it has a flat land along with it. So we can have a huge contingent of army and air base with road controlling it. So now Chinese who have the CPEC road going across the Karakoram range, that comes under our range. So Chinese are apprehensive that we may sort of get into some sort of commanding position over there and can stop, because the Chinese CPEC corridor is one of the most ambitious plans. And the Gwadar airport and the interland collecting, they have pumped in huge amount of money. Pakistan has pumped in huge amount of money, but Pakistan is getting bankrupt and they want some relief in the debt. That is a different story. But then this is one story. Then after that, we abrogated 370. So then the whole area came into our control. And then Rajnath Singh and our friend Amit Shah, both of them started shouting that we'll take back Aksai Chin.
Right.
So all these things would have alerted them on that side. Now there also, China has been following a sort of expansionist policy recently, in the sense that you see, now if you talk about major powers, we've got major power as America, which is an ailing major power. It's on its decline. On the other side, we've got China, which is a power which is coming up, and then they think about sort of flexing their strength. Suddenly, during this expansionism, where they've been doing it in South China Sea and all other places, you have this COVID pandemic, and the entire world turns around them, against them. So they had to do something to sort of
This is the right time when India should rake up the Tibet issue, isn't it? The US has started, but India should have to take the lead in this.
I don't know. Tibet, as far as India is concerned, I think it's a dead
So,
issue. What do we gain out of that? We've already recognized the country. And
and we
this time Modi didn't even congratulate Dalai Lama on his birthday.
it's not,
It
it's
was
not
a
even
lower
sweet
functionary who did it.
It's a bad thing to do, I think. It's not right. Modi should have completed
Yeah,
it.
yeah. But, what was he thinking? I don't know. That speaks of his point of view that he didn't even congratulate him.
I think only
So
the
that speaks
minister.
of a difference, a change in our attitude towards Dalai Lama also. Was that to sort of at this moment to sort of placate the Chinese when we are sort of on a very delicate issue? That is a different story. We'll see it next year when he congratulates or does not congratulate Dalai Lama.
I think that the Gandhian non-violence in our external affairs relationship, isn't it? Too much of the Gandhian philosophy ingrained into our diplomacy, our political class. Is that true? You think so?
I
Why can't
couldn't. I didn't get the
why
question.
can't India be a little more aggressive in its approach to other countries? Why is this too much of Gandhian non-violence?
That is in our genes. The Indian, what you call the ambiguous strategy, everywhere we are both friends and enemies, has been continuing right from our modern history is filled with that, and we have been suffering for that. So that narrative is being changed by the present regime, where they are trying to be assertive, and therefore they are asking this question. Otherwise, 5 years ago, nobody would have asked the question to any diplomat that why isn't India aggressive? India was happy to be a non-aligned, cooperative, soft, and but that doesn't work. But in modern day world, we have all these strong men running around, strong men and women. With Angela Merkel also, the European Union is also in its sort of.
They come up, US, China goes to the South China Sea, says this island is ours, they take it, nobody says anything.
No, but then mind you, the Taiwanese are reacting when there is a problem in the territorial seas. The Australians are reacting when there is a problem with Japan is with what is that island name? Kundeku or something. What was that? Senkaku Island, and then now those Spratly Islands. All these countries are reacting to the Chinese incursions in these areas.
India must have started a domino effect, hopefully.
Yeah, but then what has happened is that Americans have sent 2 aircraft carriers in that region. The Chinese have tried to sort of threaten through a tweet when the Americans have reacted. We are not concerned or something like that. They said no problem. Whatever you have to do, you do. We are here to stay, and we are seeing these seas. So high seas, I think Chinese have made lots of attempts in that area and trying to push their neighbors, including Japan, which is a big country, but Philippines, Taiwan, Malaysia, and Indonesia, all these countries have been pushed. So again, at that point, we have to look at our naval power also, so that we can see. Yeah, and then I think Australia wants the Quad dialogues sort of graduate into joint exercises. Then we'll have, we'll have a better substantive control on the Indian Ocean's regions in the Arab.
Okay, Nepal has now banned Indian news channels. They are going on the.
Well, your news channel goes there and says that the Chinese ambassador has honey trapped the prime minister. What do you expect them to do? They banned him. Media has to be somewhat responsible, I would say. I mean, I'm not supporting what they did, but I'm also not supporting what the Indian media did, in the sense that you don't say that the ambassador, she's a respectable diplomat. She's an outgoing diplomat. She dances on Nepali music and also hobnobs with other opposition leaders and does odd jobs for Prime Minister Oli. But then you cannot say that the Chinese have honey trapped Oli, and they've got videos of her and Oli on that. So this was a bit too much aggressive. So they shut it down, but it came as an extension of our problems growing with Nepal, because China on this side again, they are trying to. They've got Pakistan on their side, Nepal half on their side. They are also now looking into Bhutan, and they have some issues with their waked up in the UN Environmental Fund. There was a story which I heard.
It was a grant in the grant. They all
There
put
was
up
a
the
grant which they said that they opposed it, saying that this is our territory. Now, if you see the map of that place, that territory is not even contiguous to China. So, what do they want to say? That is because north of this territory is our Arunachal Pradesh. So, what they are messaging is that, okay, that is our territory, and by correlation, Arunachal is also ours. So that game again, China is not keeping quiet. So all this soft talk by the Chinese ambassador to Delhi is there to placate the Indian population, and it was generally meant to the people to calm down. हम चुपचाप हैं, हम लोग दोस्त हैं, हमारे relations इतने पुराने हैं, all these things he said. But behind our backs, they are doing their own things. In Nepal, they have instigated this prime minister. I don't know whether he'll stay for a longer period because there has been rift because of this issue again. But then the issue which they have created will remain, because this border thing, that Lipu Lake and Kalapani thing, it has never been challenged by them. We have got our border point over there. It is ours, so it has been there on our map for a long time. Now, just including in your map does not it become it there. But then it will always be a point of discussion, and as you have again pointed out, we'll have these border meetings with them also.
I think that's thanks a lot, Praveen. I think we should we have some more things to talk about, but we'll do that early next week.
We'll do it next week. Yes, there's so many things. We'll see whether something comes up. We'll be able to talk.
Things should be developing further, on the border as well as in Canada.
We didn't talk about Canada, where the We Charity, the poor Trudeau is again under ethics committee. I don't know.
We'll do that.
Okay.
We'll do that. Thanks, Praveen.
Thank you very much. Nice talking to you once again. Thank you. Bye-bye.